Hello, 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 beautiful people. Welcome back to another episode of the USL Show. We are back with some more just fun stuff from the week. We have record breakers. We have a first ever coming up this week. Lots of action in the Super League and some shockers in the championship, but nothing more exciting than one final hashtag shot at glory. Someone please, a Jaegermeister, send me a shot glass. I'm begging of you. But before we get too much into the Jaegermeister, Ryan, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well. The Carolinas are about to get dumped with a lot of rain as that Hurricane Helene is kind of forming off Gulf of Mexico on its way soon. So, yeah, I could definitely do for a shot of glory this weekend to get through the weather. Or honestly, if anyone still has one of those Jägermeister fridge, I would like to have that as well.
You know who to call. It's always Fuego. Um, so there's that. John, how are you, man?
Yeah, doing really well. Excited for everything we've got in store tonight. Happy to have you back, Kaylor, after the move.
Yeah, still in the middle of getting stuff in there. Ryan rightfully pointed out that it does look like I'm in the middle of a hostage interrogation room, but it's okay. We move. Yeah, I'm always stoked to be back. It's good to see you guys again. Before we get to a really fun part of this show, let me just go ahead and say thank you, a massive thank you to Aaron J, Alberto Aguilar, Andrew Towsley, Christopher Cohn, Frank Anthony, Harry Austin, Jeremy Churchman, John Fuller, John Hunt, Joshua Duder, Kunal Patel, Michael Fuchs, MOS, NFR Reg 30, Noah Telford, Olive the Hedgehog, Rion Lacara, Stephen Howard, Tim Knox, and Timothy Meadows. I take 1 week off and I can't speak anymore. That's okay. Thank you guys so much for supporting us. Thank you guys for everything when it comes to supporting us. If you would like to support us, and we don't like to beg too often, but StreamYard, which is what we record and we go live on, has raised their prices a pretty good amount. So if you would like to continue watching the USL show, have as you always have, and getting it onto your stream, like your streaming platforms on your podcast, the way you always have, please consider at least sharing the Patreon. We would love for you to donate, but at least just share it around. That's enough of me yapping because we have a really fun guest. We have mentioned one last shot at glory, and we could not be more excited than to talk to someone who made a name for himself over in Ireland, could not stop scoring goals, ends up going over to Iran, and then coming over to the U.S. to none other than John's Indy 11, where could not stop scoring goals, goes over to the Independents, goes over to the Red Wolves. Now he's just known for somehow beating heat strokes and sweaters on a sideline, none other than Eamon Zayed. Eamon, how you doing, man?
Hey guys, hey Kaylor, hey John, Ryan, I see you there. Yeah, how are you guys?
Great, man. Great. It's so good to see you. Just how are you feeling before the big match coming up?
Um, yeah, that's a bit of a loaded question. Look, yeah, delighted, absolutely delighted to be in a final. It's the first final of the year. Obviously, it was a big goal of ours to compete in the Jaegermeister Cup and have a shot at glory and have a shot in the end at obviously picking up that trophy. So delighted to be in the final first and foremost. Yeah, look, it's a bit bitter, a bit devastated that I'm going to unfortunately miss it. Found out the news today, earlier today, that we appealed the double yellow card, second yellow card in particular, on the weekends, and yeah, devastated. Honestly, absolutely devastated to be missing it. It was 3 years of coaching. This was going to be the biggest night of my coaching career, and one of the biggest nights of my 24 year playing and coaching career, to be honest, in general. So yeah, I'm devastated. I'm devastated that the opportunity has been I feel like wrongly kind of taken away. So yeah, devastated in that regard. But at the same time, we have a final to compete for.
How does the fact that you won't be able to be on the sideline affect the preparation, and what is the contingency plan for the day of?
It doesn't affect preparation at all. You know, our week will be the way it always is. Obviously, it's, you know, it's funny. Like, we look at this week. It's not a normal week. It's a special week because you're going to be playing, obviously, with a chance to pick up the trophy at the end of the week. So you can't pretend that it's just going to be a normal week. But at the same time, you don't want to change anything, you know, drastically, and nothing should change. I think it's just mentally the week, the training sessions will be a little bit more intense. But at the same time, you want to find that balance of, guys, you've earned the right to be here in the final. You have to enjoy it. You have to enjoy it. This is what you play football for. This is why you coach football, to be able to have a chance in a final of getting a trophy. So definitely gotta find a balance of enjoying it, and at the same time, it is a special game. It's a special week. Maybe that extra added little bit more focus and concentration in terms of the details in training, the details of preparation, and how we will line out against Madison and our game plan. But listen, it'll be a normal week up until, well, I think I'm allowed speak to the guys before they go out for a warm-up, and then after that it's literally over to you guys, which to be honest, normally it is anyway. You know, there's only so much a coach can affect on the sideline.
Yeah, so just kind of talking about the season a little bit, you know, there was a lot of things that got to you this point. I think a lot of people saw the two main pieces that you guys lost in this, you know, this offseason with Arthur and Trevor, and said, how can you replace those guys? And obviously it's impossible to replace those guys, but you can still get results. And for a little bit, it looked shaky, but it really felt like you guys found your stride in the Jaegermeister Cup. Did it have something to do with the league putting an emphasis on goals, or was it just around that same time you found your footing?
Listen, honestly, it's nothing to do with the competition itself. You know, we've approached the Jaegermeister Cup games like every other game, to be honest. You know, we're playing against USL League One opposition, whether it's the league or Jaegermeister Cup. For us, we want to go out, compete, and win. And that's genuinely how we looked at it. I mean, I said before in an interview that there were moments, definitely June, July, where I didn't even know what competition we were playing in. I just knew, we're playing Omaha, we're playing Spokane, and we were just preparing for a game. You know, going back to the start of the season, it's you know, people obviously had commented our start of the season wasn't great. April, we started the season with 2 losses and 2 draws, which obviously wasn't ideal. Listen, I hate making excuses. As a coach, I don't believe in excuses, but there's definitely certain reasons. You know, there's things going on in the background that people aren't privy information to. And listen, I'll be honest, that affected the group. It affected myself, it affected the coaching staff, and it affected the group as a whole. So it wasn't ideal preparation from pre-season going into the start of the season in March. Pre-season also was a lot shorter this year. It was 4.5 weeks we had with the guys before our first game of the season, versus last year I think it was 7 weeks or even 8 weeks. I do think that affected our preparation a little bit because we did get a lot of new guys in, but we didn't start the season obviously as well as we would have liked. I feel like in the background, the coaching staff and the players, we weren't freaking out. We knew what we had as a group. We knew there was some good players there, and we saw glimpses of it in games. In there was a couple of US Open Cup games where we were really good, and we saw glimpses of what we could be. So we kept the faith. We knew it was going to be a process to try and get the team together, and I feel like it just, I think coincidence, it just coincided with the Jaegermeister Cup. I feel like in May, we changed a couple of things tactically. We stopped looking for excuses and feeling sorry for ourselves, and kind of just got on with our job. Professional footballers, professional coach, just trying to go out and compete and get results. And I feel like the game against Omaha, it was 2-2, first kind of Jaegermeister Cup game. That was when we kind of saw, you know what, all right, well, there's something there that we can build upon. And we did. And the month of May, we were unbeaten. The month of June, we were unbeaten. The month of August, we were unbeaten. I think we had two dodgy results, 2 games against Charlotte and Knoxville in July where we lost. But if you look at the game as a whole, we dominated shots, we dominated XG, and then we picked up the end of July and finished that off with a couple of really good results. So honestly, since May, we've been really, really good. Actually, statistically, maybe before the Omaha loss, I think we were the best team in the league over 10 or 11 games since June. So no, we know what we have as a group. We know we can be one of the better teams. We can challenge, it was we knew what we had. I think it was convincing other people maybe that we could be that team that could go on and compete for a trophy now and obviously come the end of the season. So yeah, people just kind of looked at the start of the season and thought, what's going on there? And again, I'll add in, you know, we started the season with a lot of away games. Our first league home game was the middle of June, right? And you know, I'm not making excuses, but if you were to say Louisville, let's say Louisville are the best team in the USL at the moment. They're unstoppable, right? At the moment, USL altogether. You tell Louisville, hey, listen, you're going to be playing away from home. You're not going to play at home until June, the middle of June in the league. That's quite tough. And also, you're also going to be 2, 3, maybe 4 games behind some teams. It's not going to look pretty. It's not going to look good. And I knew that it didn't look good and it didn't look pretty. When we were 12th and 11th and 10th, and I knew it didn't look good, but I also had absolute complete faith in this team and what they could do, and I knew that once it started to become a little bit more balanced, that we'll climb up the table. I think the Jaegermeister Cup was a good kind of you could look at that and say, well, you know, you're playing home, you're playing away, and kind of more of maybe where we can be as a team. So yeah, I'm going to fight for my team, and that genuinely, we got off to an awful start, and then we were playing catch up, and it was difficult until we started catching up in games and playing at home. It was really, really difficult to make a run, to be honest.
You had mentioned during the summer, just it was almost confusing to go back and forth between USL 1 matches and Jaegermeister Cup matches. So I just wanted to at least kind of get your feelings on how have you thought that the USL has rolled out the Jaegermeister Cup this season and where it compares to just kind of the league season as well, and just your overall vibes for how the competition has gone and what you would like to see from the future of this competition.
A lot of parts of that question there, Ryan. I'll try and answer as in order. Firstly, look, I genuinely, I was at the start of the season. Obviously, when I looked at the schedule and I was out league, Jaegermeister league, I was like, how's that going to work out? Then I genuinely, obviously, a new competition, you have certain question marks over it. I think looking back on it, and not just because we're in the final, I think it's been a really, really good tournament. I've really enjoyed playing the games, the competitive nature in it, the obviously the West Coast and the central groupings and the East Coast, how it's been grouped. I've really enjoyed it. I think it's been great. I guess my only kind of looking at it, I don't know if in future are you better off kind of dedicating, you know, you start the season, play league games for a couple of months, and then kind of shut off for a month or two and play Jaegermeister Cup. and then back to the league. I don't know if that makes more sense, because there were times, listen, I had family back home all the time ringing me saying, and they watch all my games. God bless them. They stay up till 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. and watch them. But they always, it's the same question every week. Is this the league or is this the Jaegermeister Cup? You know, and yeah, they obviously didn't even know. So I think it did get a little bit tricky navigating Jaegermeister Cup League, Jaegermeister Cup League. So I think that's the only thing that I would kind of maybe look at in the future. Can you maybe make it a little bit more shut off for 6 weeks and just play Jaegermeister Cup? But ultimately, I've really enjoyed it. I think, you know, I think teams, it was interesting to see how different coaches and different teams navigated it. I saw with Omaha, for example, it looked like they had a mixed starting lineup to start the competition, and then as the competition went on, they said, we're going to go for this and let's try and qualify, and they played a stronger lineup, and then vice versa. Some teams started with their strongest lineup, and then as it went on, thought maybe we're not going to top that group, and now we'll introduce some younger players or give other guys in the squad a chance. So I thought it was fascinating to watch, you know, and that was interesting. But I love the competition. I think it's great. Hopefully, you know, it's going to be around for years to come. I know there was talk this year of the potential of combining it with USL Championship. I think that would be fantastic. Definitely from a USL League One club, the opportunity to compete against USL Championship clubs. I think it makes the cup a lot more attractive and interesting as well, to compete. I think the USL League One fans would love to play against USL Championship teams and maybe have the bragging rights. And listen, US Open Cup has showed over the last few years that, listen, there's not much in it. There's not much in it. You know, for a lot of teams, there's not much in it. And USL League One can hold their own against USL Championship. So I'd love to see it. And then your last part of the question there, I mean, in terms of the league, I guess to add on, the only thing as well, which is, it's a little bit difficult, I guess, depending on how your team does and I guess how you start the season. Because there's only 22 league games versus 32 last year, the margin for error in the league is quite difficult. So you see right now that there's obviously 7 teams. Well, maybe Omaha are a step ahead, but there's 7 teams there, and you tell me who's going to finish first, second, third, fourth. I genuinely, it's going to be so close, and it'll probably go down to the last couple of games, which maybe you want as entertainment. I guess it just makes it that more competitive, I guess. Those games you know, the 6-pointer games. We're going to play Charlotte and we're going to play Madison, 2 of our last 6 games of the season. I mean, they're going to be 6-pointer games. It might dictate a home playoff versus an away playoff game, potentially. So on one regard, it's interesting and competitive, and, you know, the fans are intrigued, I guess. On the other side, if you lose a few games in the league, in a 22 league game season, take your foot off the ball, you know, it's difficult. You're playing catch up, and it is difficult. Like we lost to Omaha the other week. You know, before that game, I was thinking, we beat Omaha or we draw with Omaha. There's a potential to look at that first place. Now we lose Omaha, and you know, we didn't get the result we wanted against Chattanooga. Now it's kind of like, we're not going to catch Omaha. There's just too many games. They're too good of a team to drop that amount of points. So I guess just navigating that, the league games and the schedule versus the Jaegermeister schedule. But if they could navigate that and find something that works better for next season, other than that, I think it's been great. I love it. Honestly, I love it. I hope come Saturday night we'll be the team with the first name on the trophy, because I've enjoyed it a lot, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about the way this team has improved throughout the year, a couple of players for my taste have really shown a lot of evolution and growth throughout the season. Ethan Horde in particular in this first pro season. What does he give you up top that makes him such a special player?
I think Ethan Ethan's still developing. It's his first year as a professional. But I think if you look at his attributes, first and foremost, he's a handful. Like he's 6'5". He can do a lot. When you think of somebody who's 6'5", you might think, all right, you're a target striker, and you hold the ball up, lay it off, get in the box. Maybe that's what you do. Ethan's a little bit different than a normal 6'5" striker, because he has no problem running the channels or running over the top. We've seen moments where a ball's being played over the top, and he battles and he wins it, and it turns into a goal scoring chance or a goal. So he has that ability definitely to open up his legs and run channels. And when he does that, he's quick when he gets going, and powerful. Then you see, I guess a great example of that is we played Richmond away from home earlier in the year. We beat them 2-0, and the second goal, Ethan scored a ball over the top. He kind of chased a nothing ball over the top. Then he got their defenders squared up one-on-one. And his dribbling, his feet are very good for somebody, again, of 6'5". And he dribbles, he shows him one side, takes it to his right foot, and then he finishes it. So if I was an opposition coach and I was looking at Ethan, it's quite difficult to kind of, how do you mark this guy? Because his feet are quite good. He's no problem spinning and working in behind. And then now he's becoming, which we've worked on throughout the year, and he's getting better at movement in the box, his finishing in the box, which I feel over the last few weeks has got better. And as the season's gone on, has continued to get better. So, he's quite a difficult player to be honest, if I was an opposition coach, to try and analyze, because he has a bit of everything, and he's working on all that to get better and stronger. I have been trying to work on, in terms of the positional sense, in terms of movement in the box, peeling off back post versus going front post. Obviously, your finishing, your one-touch finishing, because at the start he was snatching at things. Some were going in, some were going over, and this was happening not just in games and training. So we worked on trying to be a little bit more composed in terms of his finishing, when to take a touch, when to maybe hit it first time, and he's definitely grown and gotten better as the season's gone on. So he's been a big player for us, obviously, not just in the Jaegermeister Cup, in the league as well. And every time I ask players, I'm still familiar with. I'll give you an example. Stefan Lukic, we played against Chattanooga the other day. I like to have a decent relationship with my players after the following day, after it calmed down. I met him. I met Steph, and we're talking about it. And yeah, he says he's the guy up front is a handful. Arthur Rogers said the same when we played against FC Tulsa earlier in the year. He's a difficult player to kind of get a hold of,
Yeah, and I've got one more kind of player-centric question for you. I think players like Ethan Horde and Bruno Rendon can kind of steal the spotlight with what they do in attack. But Jackson Dietrich has emerged as the team's captain, really the king of doing the dirty work in the midfield. What has he done to really cement himself as a key piece for this team?
Well, I'm glad you brought him up, and I'm going to plug in earlier what Kaylor said. I think you guys, what you guys do is fantastic. I always listen to your show. I think it's brilliant. I think, there's not many USL shows out there. I think you guys are probably the top ones out there. I always listen to the show, even when it's about USL Championship and other things I listen to. I think it's great. So yeah, anybody, if they haven't signed up, they probably should sign up, because I do think it's the best USL show out there. And I know I mean that wholeheartedly. I do. I think it's brilliant. I listened to your show last week, I think it was, and you brought up Jackson Dietrich as an unsung hero. And he is somebody that, Ethan Horde and obviously Bruno Rendon could take the plaudits. We have a couple of other players as well. Jackson is as a coach, I know exactly what I'm going to get from Jackson. He's going to give maximum effort, 100%. Technically, he's really good on the ball. So a bit of background. Jackson Dietrich, I saw him in Chattanooga Red Wolves. He was under Jimmy Ablada there. And I went and watched him a couple of times. And he played left wing and he played centre mid. So I always thought he was a left winger. And then when I got to know him a little bit more, spoke to a couple of coaches about him, and then spoke to him, he said, no, I'm a centre midfielder. So when he first came in, we brought him the end of 2022. he didn't get much game time, but whenever he did, I played him on the left wing. And he would tell me, a funny story. We were playing away from home. I can't remember who it was against. His mom came and watched it, right? And I didn't know his mom, never met her before. And we're at the airport, and his mom is there beside him. We're checking our bags and all that. And next thing she says, "Hey, can I have a word?" And I'm like, "Yeah, no problem." So I sat down and started talking to her, a lovely woman. And she said, "Hey, Jackson's a centre midfielder, and he could do a great job for you." And I said, "Yeah, he's told me that before, but I've used him on the wing." And she's like, no, obviously any mom is always going to shout out their son.
Yeah.
She was not letting me go. Like, she had me for about 20-25 minutes and was like, "Oh, centre midfield, give him the opportunity." So that was the end of 2022. I think we're playing, maybe it was Fuego. So anyway, when the 2023 season started in preseason, I said, "Jackson, I'm gonna try in centre midfield. I mean, you're telling me you're an 8, so let's see." And I remember preseason 2023, he was one of our best players. He was excellent. He was breaking up play, combining play, and then he was making these runs beyond our striker. I think he scored a few goals in preseason. And when the season started, it was a case of I have to play him in this 8 position. And I think he ended up taking I think Norty came in a little bit. He was catching up with an injury at the start of 2023. So it was all right. Well, Jackson, there you are. And he was brilliant. And he became just Mr. Reliable. I know what I'm going to get. He works his socks off for the team. He's a winner. He competes. And then he has a good range of passing. He's quite clever. He drifts, if he can't get the ball centrally, he'll drift to the left to try and combine, which is he's really good at. He'll drift to the right and combine. And then he has the ability, we saw against Omaha, he can drive at the fences. I think he got the penalty for the first goal 2 weeks ago. So he has a lot of weaponry, shall I say. He has a lot about him. But I love him. As a coach, he's a coach's dream, honestly. I know what I'm going to get. He'll never let the team down. I know at least I'm going to get a 7 out of 10, and then 8, 9, depending on how he is in the game. So no, I love him. I think he's been great for us, and I am delighted that you brought him up, because people talk about other players a lot of the time, and for me, Jackson's one of those that, I mean, I've counted on him a lot, and even at times he gets disappointed in himself, and I have to remind him, no, you did well. And you did what I asked of you, and we won the game. So, he's been great for us.
That's great to hear.
Well, let me know if you can see your screen in just 1 minute, because I want to share something really fast. You mentioned keeping a good relationship with players. We're going to see if you can figure out which one of these players this is by their wiki page.
By their what page?
By their Wikipedia page.
Okay.
So I was going to do Steph, and then I said, that's too easy. He'll know this one. So I went one that I think you're going to be the only one that knows. If John or Ryan can pull this one out of their hat, I will be stunned. But I'm going to put it on the screen, and I am going to see if you can figure this one out. If I can pull it up somewhere really fast. Okay, let me see.
Technical difficulties there.
Technical difficulties. Why wouldn't I have that? Here we go.
All right, you're putting me on the spot here, but let's see.
All right.
Notts County, Virginia Beach, UCD, Shane McFall.
There you go.
Yeah, that's Shane McFall for sure.
Good on you. That's a great.
Who goes from Virginia Beach to UCD? Yeah.
See, the Brighton is. I was like, I don't. That one shocked me.
Yeah.
I know that's championship Brighton, but still. And then
that's right. Listen, Shane's had an interesting career. Yeah, an interesting career. Shane McFall. Do you know Shane McFall? Sorry to cut you off, Kayla. Shane McFall he's actually coaching over here for the Colorado Rapids U team.
Really?
Yeah.
Love that.
Director coaching.
Well, I will go ahead and stop sharing that. I was not prepared for you to get that fast. That was very impressive. So just we've talked a lot about just a lot of different players. And when you look at this like Northern Colorado team, it is a lot of the same players. You can expect them week in, week out. I mean, you are working with really the same players. You have a chunk of players who are over 1,000, 2,000 minutes. Only one over 2,000. That's Delgado, of course. But you still have players who everybody knows, loves. When Northern Colorado really got hot, we had talked about Noah Powder and Bruno Rendon on the wings, and where they had originally started as fullbacks. That's what we knew them as. And then they get pushed up to be proper wingers. And obviously, you guys love to have your wing backs go up pretty high as well. But when we first saw that change, obviously, people who've watched the championship know about Noah Powder and what he can do in that attacking sense. What brought about saying we're going to take our fullbacks and make them just out and out wingers? Because that feels like a ballsy move.
Yeah, I think so. Me as a coach, right? Every coach has an idea of. I'll try and relate this. Every coach has an idea of how they would like to play, right? Whether they like to press or not press, whether they'd like to possess and play through the lines, or play centrally, or attack out wide. Every coach has their own idea. For me, I have my ideas of how I'd like to play, but I feel like the players that you bring in, and once you see them together, and sometimes it takes a little bit of time to kind of see how they are, because you might sign them and see something, and then you see them, on a daily basis and see something else. Players dictate. I always feel players will dictate how you play. I've seen coaches who have a style and a way of playing, and no matter what, they will continue to do. I want to play this. I want to play this. I want to play this, and it doesn't work. But they are so obsessed with how they want to play and their principles that they will not change it. We're playing USL League One. I love the league, being around since 2019 from the very, very start. I think I love USL League One probably more than anybody. Maybe I do. I love it. I love USL Championship, but USL League One is my bread and butter. I've been here since 2019. So you get a mix of players. And somebody asked me this the other day, and I said, well, you might see a player in the off season, and it might go against what you want. I want to press. He doesn't like to press, but he's so good, and you have the opportunity to sign him that you go, I'm going to bring him in anyway, and we'll figure it out. Because we don't have the luxury to go, I'm going to pick this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy, this guy. We're all working off budgets, and obviously availability and all that kind of stuff. So when I bring in players and a team, I always try to, I do not like playing a back three. I hate it. But if I feel like it's going to be the best for the team, I'll do it. I'll do whatever's the best for the team. Earlier in the year, Bruno's a good example. Earlier in the year, April, we started the season. We're playing away from home. We're trying to figure things out. We looked very, very easy to read. We had Noah Powder coming to the ball, Billy King coming to the ball, Irvin Power coming to the ball, Cello Martinez coming to the ball. Nobody was running in beyond. And I remember we played against Greenville and we got beat 3-1, and I looked at it and I was thinking, gee, it was quite easy for Greenville. Like they managed us quite easy, and they deservedly won, and we didn't really cause them too many issues. So after that game, I thought, how are we going to change things, and how are we going to be a little bit more dangerous? We're still figuring things out in terms of possessing the ball, but how can we look dangerous? And Bruno is somebody that in training scores loads of goals. I mean, he loves to score goals. He scores goals in training in the small side of games more than he does probably defend. So I thought, well, he's quick, he's powerful. I thought, you know what, maybe if we push him further up, we can have that threat of somebody in behind. And even if he doesn't get the ball, he might push a defensive line back. And now Noah Powder comes into play a little bit more. It opens up and there's a bit more space. So we did it. I don't know what actually, I do think the first game was Omaha away. I put Bruno left wing, and I look like Jose Mourinho at times. The ball came in and the ball goes over the top and Bruno scores and we're 1-0 up. And I'm thinking, well, hold on, this is great. No, we did it. We did it away from home. It worked, and we continue to do it. Introduce Ethan Horde, who can do both. And now you have a threat of a couple of players in behind, and then you have a threat of a Billy King or Noah Powder in those pockets of space. And now teams are guessing. They're going, oh, are they going short? Are they going long? And that's what we want to do. Ideally, I want to create a team that will, when the opposition look at us, they're thinking, well, how do we stop this team? All right, well, we'll stop the threat in behind. But then, now you have Billy King and Noah Powder, or Real Gill, who's been fantastic. Now we have these players coming into the pockets of space. So now we have to stop that. But if we jump up and stop that, well, now Bruno might get in. So that's kind of where the Bruno playing further up came about. Noah Powder came into us last year. Similar, came in. I was told he's a left back. We scouted him. We knew he had ability. I played him left back a couple of times, and I noticed that really, really strong going forward. Defensively, listen, Noah Powder's he can defend, but he wanted to go forward, and he was so good at going forward and creating opportunities going forward. I thought, well, how can I get him there more? And I don't play wing backs, so I thought, well, we'll try him further up the field. And it worked. I think the first game was against North Carolina. You had Bruno we played away from home, and we beat North Carolina last year 2-1. Bruno Rendon played right back, and Noah Powder played right wing. And it was great because when Bruno went further forward, Noah Powder, again, as a left back, as a full back, he would just tuck in no problem until Bruno got back. And then Noah Powder will go inside into those pockets of space. And now Bruno Rendon goes further up forward. So if I'm a left back, I'm thinking, or I'm a left winger for the opposition team, I'm thinking, well, hold on, what am I doing here? Am I going with Noah Powder? And then Bruno's free. Am I going with Bruno? Well, then who's marking Noah Powder? And it made the opposition think and guess and second guess. And Noah Powder, I think he scored 5 goals towards the end of last year, and he's creating opportunities. It worked. It worked. For me, it's about the team dynamic and what is best to bring out the best in the team as a whole, and as partnerships, and then as units. And it worked. It worked. So that's why I played Noah further up. It's funny, if for international football, Noah plays as an 8. I had a USL championship team call me about 2 months ago. I won't say the team. They're one of the best teams in the USL championship. They rang me and they asked me if I was interested in letting Noah Powder go. And I asked them, I said, because I knew their team and I also knew their coach. I said, but where do you see him playing? Because you have really effective forwards. He goes, no. He's going to play left back for us. And I thought, all right. They had seen him play left back for Real Salt Lake. Yeah, Real Monarchs. He played left back and he was really good. And they actually had looked at maybe bringing him in, I don't know, a few years ago as a left back, and they thought he could do a job there. So again, every coach will have their own idea. I all I can do, I try to bring out the best in the players and the best for the team, the team dynamic. And Noah can do a job fullback. He can do a job further forward. I think he's really effective further forward. He can create things by himself. I think Bruno, we're away from home, fantastic. If teams are going to press us and give us that space in behind, there's no better player maybe in the league than working that space in behind than Bruno. Now, if a team decides that they are going to have a lower block, like at Chattanooga, for instance, the other night, then you might look and go, do you know what, Bruno, right back is Bruno's best position by far. I'm not going to doubt that. Bruno's best position, right back or right wing back, but I don't play wing backs. But maybe then kind of going meet and play that way is better, as opposed to there's no space to run in behind. So, I just try to bring out what I feel is the best in the players, but the team as a whole. And if it means that I have to change a couple of players as long as I feel they can do the job, and it's also going to bring out some of their better attributes that I feel that they're showing in training and in the games, well, then great, I'll do it. I mean, Arthur Rogers last year played right back. Now you ask Arthur Rogers, hey, what's your best position? Arthur always told me his best position was centre back, always. But then in college he played centre mid, and he started off at Hartford as a centre mid. There was an injury, and he ended up playing fullback. So, he can play. Maybe he can play all those positions. I still think right back is probably his best position, or maybe a back three. But again, I don't play a back three, so yeah.
But before John jumps in on that, because he wants to, it was funny because you mentioned he thinks his best position, Arthur Rogers is center back. I remember we had conversations on this show last year where we felt like, Hailstorm were not getting the most out of their team when he was playing center back. We're like, why would you not let him go forward? Just let him pass the ball. Good things happen. It's so funny because we were in agreement with you. We're like, why would you do him anything other besides playing right back? That's what he's so good at. So funny that, he thinks that he's even more effective. Don't get me wrong. He was so effective at center back, but it was just like, why would you not let him go forward and just cross the ball because he's so perfect at it? That's funny to me.
I think, before John might jump in with a question, I just think on that one, I think, again, I come back to budgets in USL League One, and I think some coaches, if they have an issue in terms of, I'll give you an example, Arthur Rogers, why he played centre back, right? Why I moved him to centre back. We looked at it, and we were. I think we had an injury, and also we were struggling to move the ball from A to B, right? From that defensive third to the middle third, we had an issue. Once we got to the middle third, we were great. From the middle third to the final third, we were really, really good. But we had an issue with that, the defensive third to the middle third. Arthur Rogers, instead of going out saying, "Hold on, can I find somebody? Can I loan somebody? Can I?" bring somebody in that can fix that. I will. I'm a coach that will look within first. Do we have somebody within the camp that could fix that issue that we're having right now? Arthur Rogers was the fix. I knew he's so comfortable on the ball. He was our best probably defender at moving that ball from that defensive area to the. He was good at moving it from the defensive area to the final third, but from the defensive area to the middle third, he was our best player at that. And I thought, all right, well, listen, centrally, he felt he could do it. I felt he could do it. And he could. There was moments where he did get back centre back. He was so good on the ball that teams would press him. And I'm like, no problem. Maybe if it was somebody else, I'd be like, oh, don't press him or get rid of it. Where with Arthur, I was like, yeah, you go and try and press him because he's so casual and calm on the ball. Casual is not the right word. Calm on the ball that. And composed that he'll play that ball away from you, over you, through you, and break that line. And it worked for a large period of time. But then you're right, Kayla, it comes back to, I put him centre back, and then I thought, are we missing that? Maybe later on, after a few games, I thought, are we missing that? That final, the crossing that he gives you. And then you go, all right, well, I'll push him back there. Yeah. Sorry, John, go on if you have a question there.
No, that's good. Well, multiple times across the discussion, you've mentioned you are really not a back three guy. You're not going to run with wing backs. I think fascinatingly, a lot of good teams in League One tend to prefer that system, whether it's Omaha, Knoxville, Madison to an extent. What about that shape don't you like?
Okay, so I will say this. I'll play it if I feel like I have the players to play it. And I'll be honest, at the start of this year, in pre-season, I looked at the team, spoke to obviously Colin Falvey, Tim Murray, who's goalkeeper stroke assistant, and I said, should we play a back three? Because for me, I'm looking at, Bruno Rendon on one side, Lucky O'Power on the other side. We have the perfect wing backs. The two of the best wing backs, I think, two of the best wing backs in the league. The two best wing backs in the league if you play wing backs, right? Maybe Madison will say something with Payne and maybe with Prentice, they might say. But for me, Lucky O'Power and Bruno Rendon on both sides. But then I just looked at the rest of the team. Could I play a 3-5-2? No, I didn't feel like I had two strikers. Could I play a 3-4-3? Yeah, possibly. I mean, I felt like we have really good wingers. I don't know. I feel like I prefer as a coach to organize my back four. It's easier to get back into shape. I don't like to get exposed in any areas. Now, if a team plays a back three, you as a coach, if I'm playing against a back three, the first thing I'll look at is how are they out wide? How are they defending out wide? The fullbacks, the wing backs, are they good defensively? Are they not? Do they jump? Is there space out there? If we do play that ball out wide, how are the centre backs at jumping out wide? Are they uncomfortable at jumping out wide? Can we expose that? That's the first thing I'll look at. And I somehow when I play against the back three, and listen, we're going to play against the back three against Madison this weekend. I, as a coach, I find it easier to expose weaknesses in a back three than I do in a really organized back four. So I just prefer back four. I think there's, if you have fullbacks who can do both and are willing to do both. Now they have to be willing to do both. I feel like, and then you have two strong centre backs. You have whether it's 1-6 or a double pivot. I feel like you can do both. Like I feel like we can go that way. And if we lose the ball, we can still be protected. Or if we're in shape, I don't see how a team, if we're strong and organized, I don't see how a team can break us down. In a back three, I just feel like there's a lot of organization and communication that comes into a back three. And, if I was, and I say this with all due respect, because I love the league and USL League One, but you get a mixed bag of players who are really intelligent and players who are just physically really good. It's hard to get 11 really intelligent players. And for me, if you play a back three, I feel like you have to have really intelligent players all over the park because they have to be able to shift shape seamlessly. And I think it's hard to get, it's hard to perfect. And that's why I kind of go away from a back three, to be honest.
No, that's terrific.
Just a couple things, just a quick follow-up. You talk about not wanting to be exposed, and I'm going to go completely off the top of my head here. I could be wrong. The Lexington game where you guys won 5-1, I really noticed that you had obviously your two center backs back, and then you had your two center mids sitting right in front of them. I believe it was it Enoch and Langlois, or is it Languis? I can never know how to pronounce his name.
Paddy Langlois.
Langlois.
Yeah, Paddy Langlois. I think Paddy Langlois and Enoch started. Maybe Jackson came on. I can't remember. Maybe he was injured for that game, actually.
I remember they sat really deep in that game at the very beginning because everybody else was going forward. You guys scored 5 goals. That it worked out well. But, it was really interesting because on the other side, you're working with, obviously, you mentioned Lucky as well. He's been great. But, Yamazaki has been awesome for you guys. And he's obviously not the one that goes up the wing like Lucky does. But it felt like every time Lexington went to have an attack, there were already 5 people there waiting for that attack. And it felt like the other 5 were all attacking for you guys. It was really cool to watch. And I felt like that was one of those situations you talk about just never being caught out. That was one of those matches where you guys didn't. You had one, but still.
Yeah, so one of the things, I guess one of the things I learned quite quickly in 2022, if I can to answer that question, because it does come back. You learn as a coach. I'm learning, right, and I have an idea, but I'm learning all the time, right. So at the start of 2022, when we put this team together, right, me and Kevin Solchak was the assistant coach at the time. He come from Chattanooga Red Wolves, and our whole idea was we were going to press. Right? We're press, right? That's what we were going to do. We worked on it in preseason. We got really good results in preseason. I remember going out to New Mexico, and we were unbelievable at our press in a preseason friendly. Now this was, but we were really, really good. And I remember there was 2 games. The fourth game of the season, we played against Charlotte Independence. Here's me on the sideline thinking we're better than them. Press, attack. Next thing, thinking if somebody's going to win it, we're going to win it. And next thing, 90th minute, the ball goes over the top, and Buyu goes through, and we lose 2-1. We're scratching our heads, going, how do we lose that game? Then we go to Greenville and press. And they have experienced Fricky, Polak, and they go, all right, well, ping over your head. Next thing, they're winning second balls. And we end up losing that game 2-1. And after that game, I kind of thought, well, hold on. I need to, what works here, what doesn't work, what do we have as a team? We changed things, and we didn't press. We pressed restarts. Maybe there was a ball over the top and their back is to our goal. We picked our moments and triggers to press. And second half of that season, we were 1 point off being the best team. I think Richmond got more points than us, a point more than us for the second half of 2022. But we were really, really good in that second half of the season. And then we picked up on it in 2023. Realized quickly, I knew it before and I should have realized quicker, but I mean, at least I realized. Some coaches don't. I mean, I feel like they don't, because they'll stick to their principles. But realize this league is very lot of transitions, so many transitions, and it's hard. If you want to be a team that presses, you better have quick, athletic centre backs, because if they just ping the ball over the top, like, what's your rest defense, what's it like? Like, what's it behind the ball? And I started to really concentrate on what do we look like behind the ball? Because everybody looks at when you have the ball, but the amount of goals in this league that is scored with transitions and not having enough players behind the ball and getting exposed behind the ball. So I started to bring up this 3+1 rule, which, there's 2 ways I look at it. You can have, you bring it back to the Lexington game, 2 centre backs, 2 centre mids, and they're always protecting. That way, great. My 2 full backs can absolutely go alongside my my front 3, let's say. So now I have at least 5 attacking players, at least 5. But I like to attack with 5+1, right? Let's just say that's a rule. 5+1, can we attack with 5+1? So in that occasion against Lexington, and it'll differ in terms of who we play against, we'll have our 2 centre backs and our 2 centre mids, right? And they will protect and sit and pick up second balls and make sure that we will not, if a team decides to transition on us, we have enough players behind the ball. If our centre mid has to go out and fill for Bruno, great, they can fill in. We'll shift across. If somebody has to shift over for Lucky, we'll do that. So that's one way we do it. And then maybe we'll look at a team and we'll look at it different. Their strengths might be a little bit different. So we'll look at, right, we'll have 2 centre backs, 1 centre mid, and our full back will tuck in. Again, we'll always have a 3+1, always. And then we'll push up our centre mid in terms of pressing or getting in the box, depending on what we're looking for from that centre mid. So they're the 2 ways that we'll look at it, but we'll always, ideally, I always want to have 3+1. So 4 players, ideally, whether that's 2 centre backs, 2 centre mids, or 2 centre backs, 1 centre mid, and a full back tucking in, always. That way, as long as we feel comfortable that we know that that's what we have behind us, the attackers can fully commit. They don't have to worry about what's behind them. And because sometimes you see teams attacking, and I've seen it. And I've asked. I said, hey, like Bruno, for example, why didn't you go? Well, what if we lost the ball? No, I don't want you to worry about that. When we have the ball, you're gone. If it's on the right side, you are gone. And at times you'll see Bruno getting in or Lucky getting in at the back post, even maybe to maybe score a goal. Because I want you to be fully confident that if you get in the back post and the ball somehow then comes back around, that no worries, our centre mid is going to tuck over and fill in for you. So that's what we did against Lexington. We wanted we scored 5. We wanted to see if we could score another goal, because whatever, there's 5 minutes left, whatever there was. I don't like just sitting on we're 4-1 up. Well, the game is still play the game, and can we get a 5th goal? I don't like to sit and just see out a game. I hate that. I hate just going to the corner flag, unless it's a cup final against Madison on Saturday. We're 1-0 up. then we might go to the corner flag.
Beautiful, man. Well, I have 2 more questions for you. One of them, the part of the game that I'm obsessed with, I've talked about on the show a lot. I love just watching the goalkeepers. That is where I enjoy watching it. I think that you can learn a lot from 2 teams by watching how their goalkeeper receives the ball and how they distribute the ball. I feel like that can tell you everything about 2 teams. And Edward Delgado last year was awesome saving penalties. But, there were a couple times that I was a little suspect of like just positioning stuff. This year, it feels like he is completely new player on just how he is positioning himself before shots, him getting his, just pausing, getting his stop in time. It feels like he's not shuffling his feet as a shot's being taken as much. Have you seen that same growth out of Edward this year?
I've definitely seen a growth in Lalo. Now, I am going to put my Hailstorm bias hat on.
Of course.
Now, you can also look at facts, because I do look at facts. I thought Lalo, I love Austin Pack. I think he's fantastic. I thought Lalo should have got goalkeeper of the year last year. I thought we had the best defense.
He got my vote, I'll say.
To be fair, he got mine as well. I mean, that is full transparency as well.
I appreciate it, and he appreciates it, I'm sure. I thought there was, look, I think in League One, I think prior to last year, League One goalkeepers, there was a couple of good goalkeepers, but I think since last year and this year, I think goalkeeper, that position, Sean Lewis, Delgado, Shipman, Austin Pack. I mean, and there's others, but just to name those 4, I mean, there's some top goalkeepers, and those goalkeepers, let's make no bones about it. They're USL Championship caliber goalkeepers. Yeah. I mean, Johan Penaranda was our second choice last year. I don't like to use the word second choice, but Lalo was so good. And now Johan is gone to Tulsa, and he's established himself as a USL Championship goalkeeper. I mean, he has. So we're blessed at the moment in USL League One with goalkeepers, because, you could say Sean Lewis is goalkeeper of the year. I'd be like, fair enough. Yeah. Austin Pack's goalkeeper of the year. Yeah, fair enough. Shipman's goalkeeper of the year. Yeah, fair enough. Lalo is goalkeeper of the year. Yeah, fair enough. So I understand last year was difficult. I just felt in terms of, I thought we had the best defensive record, clean sheets as well. I thought he should have got it. But anyway, to your point, yeah, he's definitely growing. He's growing. I'm going to give a shout out to our goalkeeper coach, Tim Murray, who, we brought him in. He's excellent. And he works with Lalo obviously on a daily basis. I have 100% trust in Tim, in what he does and what he brings, and trying to make Lalo a more complete goalkeeper, which I do feel that he is getting more complete and he is getting better. Because when Lalo came into us, he was raw, good shot stopper. He'd come from Phoenix Rising, who absolutely loved playing out of the back. Everything was just about, no matter what, lose the ball, we can see the goal, doesn't matter, get the ball and play out again. And Lalo always says he's come to a coach who is, I'm a coach in terms of play the game. If a team drops off and gives you something, play it. If a team decides to press and maybe play over it, I'm a coach in make sure that you're good at both. So then whatever the game gives you, you can do both on any given occasion. So no, Lalo is definitely more complete this year. And yeah, he's been brilliant. I mean, yeah, in not just his shot stopping, but is definitely his decision making is better this year as well. But he's been fantastic ever since we brought him in.
Well, we have one last question for you before we let you go. Thank you so much for taking the time. It's been an absolute blast. Final whistle blows if and when it is the Northern Colorado Hailstorm. First, how are you going to celebrate? Second, what are some words you would like to say to the Hailstorm faithful that come out to Four Rivers this Saturday?
How will I celebrate? Listen, it's funny. I'm not an emotional. In outside of the football field, I'm not usually an emotional person, right? And listen, my family, my missus, she always says, I mean, she'd love if I shedded a tear for something, anything. I'm not really emotional, but I do get emotional. I love the game. I love playing it. I love coaching it. I remember, listen, I have John. I don't know if you can see that. That's in the 11.
Oh yeah, I'm seeing it. Yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I remember when we didn't beat the New York Cosmos in the final 2016 NASL Championship final. I shedded a tear, and I remember I went over to the fans. It was in New York, and I remember going over to the Indy 11 fans. And the reason why I got emotional was because I felt I had let them down, right? That's how I felt, even though it was a great season. But I felt I let them down. We didn't win it, and after the semifinal against North Carolina last year, I came into the dressing room, and I didn't expect it. I started to speak to the players after we lost. And next thing, I'm lads, excuse me. I walk out and I'm in tears. I come back in again. I tried to hold it together. I was gutted for the players, right? Nothing to do with anything. I just gutted for the players because I felt the players had given so much to win a trophy. This was a 3-year plan. I've been here 3 years, let's say, as a coach. The first year was to try and build a team that was going to be competitive on the pitch. I felt like we did that in the first year. And I feel like I always look back and go, what if we had gotten to the playoffs in 2022? Because we were on such a hot streak. What would have happened? Just like Tormented, they got in and they ended up winning it. Last year, we tried to build upon that and create a team that would consistently win games in the league, not just win, lose, draw, like consistently win. We set a target of 57 points last year because 56 was the previous record with North Texas. We got 57, we got 62, but unfortunately it wasn't good enough. Omaha were phenomenal. And obviously North Carolina were really good as well. So, but I feel like last year when I look back at it after the season, I thought, you know what? We have a team here that is one of the best teams, and that's what we wanted. And we competed for a trophy. This year was kind of, well, hold on. Can we kick on? Can we compete, be one of the best teams, and maybe win a trophy? And we obviously have a chance of that on Saturday. And, I think we'll be in the playoff mix, see where we're at the end of the season, if it's a home playoff versus an away playoff. But I think we're in a mix. I think we have as good of a chance as Madison and Omaha. Two of the strongest teams I feel in the league. Not Charlotte and Knoxville as well, but I think Omaha and Madison are in that top tier. And we're in with a chance to win it. So what would it mean, or what would happen if we won it on Saturday? I can't even remember what your question was, Kayla, at the start. It would. I'll probably cry happy tears, and it'll be for the players. Like, this is about the players. I have a great coaching staff: Colin Falvey, Tim Murray, fantastic, and James Haleppo also helping out as well in the background. Really, really good. What we've been through this year, some people know, some people don't know, or actually maybe nobody knows. I don't know, but another conversation. But it would mean a lot for the players to almost like it was all worthwhile. At the end of it, we have a trophy, we have memories. There's history there that we can look back upon in years to come and talk about. And that to me, to see the players happy lifting the trophy, even if, yes, I'll be there with them lifting the trophy, whether they like it or not. I'll be on the pitch if it comes to that. But I will get unbelievable satisfaction out of just looking at the players lifting the trophy with their medals. That to me will mean the world. And I wish more than anything for the players. And listen, Madison are fantastic, and do they deserve it? Yeah, they also deserve it. They have a great club, unbelievable club. The way they run it off the field, on the field. Matt Glazier, fantastic coach. So if they win it, they'll also absolutely be deserved winners. But I know this group, and I wish more than anything that they have a trophy to lift, because I think they deserve it. From the stuff that you see, the stuff you don't see. So that's what I hope on Saturday. And then your last question to the fans. Listen, I mean, the Jaegermeister Cup is one of those. I think it's been a great tournament. I think there's 2 worthy finalists, to be honest. I really do. I think Madison have been fantastic. I think we've been really, really good in this competition. We haven't lost a game in this competition. We've scored more goals than anybody else. I think we're worthy finalists. As our Madison, I think you have 2 of the best teams in the league going at it on Saturday night. So I would say for a neutral observer, anybody listening to the show, tune in. You have we talked about, we have 2 of the best goalkeepers in the league going at it. We have 2 of the best defenses in the league going at it. And then we have, on Madison, you have Cheney and Gebhardt and Galindres and McLaughlin and Boyce, who's been fantastic, and Prentice, Wolfgang, who's been fantastic. And then on our side, you have Bruno Rendon and Ethan Horde and Billy King, Real Gill, Noah Powder. I would just say for the neutral, tune in. It's going to be a great, great final. Whether you're a defensive player or an offensive player or a goalkeeper or a coach, it's going to be a great final. And I just hope that we get a great turnout. Last year, I remember we played Madison in the quarterfinals of the playoffs in the league. It was one of our better, probably our best turnout of the year. Great atmosphere. The fans made it fantastic for us. The guys kind of played off the energy of the fans, and it was great. So yeah, NOCO fans, come out and watch. It's the first. I think it's an opportunity to be the first professional soccer team to win a trophy in Colorado since 2010. So at least that's something. 2010 was the last time a professional soccer team won a trophy, and we could potentially lift the trophy at whatever 10 p.m. on Saturday night. So wouldn't you want to be there for that? And then the neutral fan, tune in. It's going to be a great, whether you support NOCO, whether you support Madison or in the 11. Who do you support, Taylor? Is it Birmingham or who do you support?
Birmingham.
It's funny. My missus is from Birmingham as well. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She's from there. Yeah. Actually, whenever I'm in Birmingham, if there's a game going on, I'll watch it. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. The new stadium's fantastic. Really.
Great.
Yeah, it's nice. Speaking to Tom as well, not so long ago as well. We won't go into it, but about one of our players. He's not available right now. But anyway, maybe next season. But anybody, listen, watch it. It's going to be a great game. I hope no matter what, we win somehow. Penalties, 3-2, 5-0, 1-0. I don't care. I hope we win it. But yeah, it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a great game.
Eamon, thank you so much for taking time. It's been an absolute blast talking to you. Just so much fun. We don't usually get to dive this deep into talking about tactics and just philosophies and just in general about talking about players. So it's been a true blast, and we hope to have you on again soon.
Yeah, and I just want to say, we talked about the 11 thing, but as somebody who kind of fell in love with the sport watching Indy, and in that 2016 season, what you guys pulled off in the spring NASL campaign, that's magic stuff that I'm not going to forget. So being able to talk with you for this long time. Really appreciate it.
Oh, listen, from my standpoint, guys, listen, thanks for obviously having me on the show. John, I think what you do is fantastic in terms of the tactics and the stuff you put out. It's 99% of the time it's spot on. So it's fantastic.
Yeah.
What you guys do is great. Honestly, the more promotion of the league, I love USL League One. I love what we're trying to do, where we're trying to go, alongside USL Championship. And it's important to have these platforms. So again, last plug, anybody watching, sign up. Because you honestly, as a coach, sometimes I look at information and I think, oh, that's, do they know what they're talking about? When you guys talk, it's usually spot on. Like it usually is. And I listen to it and I like it. I love it. So appreciate you guys. Thanks for having me on. And listen, if we get a chance to speak again, maybe we'll speak about a final League One championship at the end of the year, hopefully.
Hey, we're rooting for you. I know our good friend Gio Cañas would love to see you again. He's been begging to ask what sweater you're going to wear anyway. So I'm sure we'll find out for USL League One final. So thank you so much for hopping on, Eamon. Blast talking to you. Good luck this Saturday.
Yeah, I appreciate it, guys. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Thank you.
Well, that was Eamon Zayed. Wow, what a blast. I mean, I cannot think of a last time we've talked to anybody and just gone that in depth on anything, let alone like, I won't lie, just getting into the 3+1, the 5+1 conversation of just how they like to defend and how they like to attack was so fascinating. And it makes sense, but when you watch them, there is just so much movement on the pitch and it's really cool seeing how it works. Listen, I love what Ford Madison is doing. I'm partial to my guy, Stephen Payne. That's my dude. But it's hard for me not to be rooting for Noko after that interview.
Yeah, I mean, like having a coach come on and be so open about the tenets of the system, the pragmatism with which they approach a game, you oftentimes see managers kind of keep things very close to their chest. So refreshing to hear from Coach Zayed like that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it is happening this Saturday. Again, final shot at glory. I don't know what my tagline is going to be after Jaegermeister's done. Can I just keep going with the shot at glory thing, or
you might as well really fight for that sponsorship?
Every game is a shot at glory for me. Every single one. Well, hey, we are an hour 12 into this. We're not going to do the predictions because we do need to talk about one Nick Marcanic. I talked on Soccer Down Here today, and I was asked about Nick Marcanic and how I describe him. We've talked about it for, I think it's 3 out of the last 4 weeks. It always just feels so underrated on how easy he makes it look. He's never missed an easy goal. There's none of those sitters as you're like, how did he miss that? He's never done it. Now he's 27 through, 28 games. He can get into the 30 mark for the first time in USL history, obviously. It's going to be fun to watch. Just seeing history happen. How did you guys feel seeing that goal go in?
Well, I mean, I think in the context of that game, right, like you get Juan David Torres getting engaged early on, and he's a player on the left wing who tends to drop deep, tends to get those touches in areas that kind of bend the defense. Nobody makes use of available space quite like Marcanic. And you kind of saw that be the formula, right? Like he's somebody who will push up next to MD Myers. He'll find that shot on his left foot, beat a defense however he can, whether that's a header, whether that's taking it off a cross. It's that ability to do it in so many ways, like the fact that he has so many different arrows in the quiver that makes him impossible to stop. And it was on show in spades over the weekend, like a really great way to kind of seal the record and get the brace to extend it, make the statement like that. He's a tremendous player, and it's really been a gift to watch him this year.
Yeah, and we'd be remiss to mention that he also tied the Battery's all-time goal scoring in a single season with Paul Conway from 2001 as well, who also scored 27 goals within that season, and to see him basically now set a new club record, presumably over the next coming games as the Battery continue to hunt down a number one seed in the Eastern Conference. Marcanic has just been the focal point of their attack, and it's just been an absolute joy to watch.
Paul Conway, who I just looked up, just in case you're wondering, from Portland, Oregon, played for the Timbers. Wikipedia has no idea. His appearances is literally a question mark. Hilarious. He played for the Brooklyn Italians. That's awesome. Then he goes to Carlisle, Northampton Town, Scarborough, goes to the Charleston Battery, where he gets 91 goals and just under 200 appearances, and then goes back to the Portland Timbers for just 13 games. He makes his return. Cute. What a beautiful story for Paul Conway. But, yeah, I mean, look, the Marcanic thing, one thing that really stood out to me, don't get me wrong, every time he scores a goal, he looks happy because he scored a goal, right? But for the most part, he kind of has his same just face. Like, it's like, okay, I scored a goal. I'm happy that I'm helping the team. He could not help but just be just massive smile on his face after he scored. He knew. And the other players knew. I mean, it was so cool. I mean, seeing how much it meant to him was fun to watch. And as Nicholas Murray points out, he was on the call for the 2012 USL Championship Final, which back then, would that have just been USL Pro? It definitely wasn't the championship.
There was, yeah, USL Pro.
Yeah, it was USL Pro.
Pro in 2011, and then, yeah.
Yeah, good. Come on, Nicholas, get the brand right. What are we doing? There's a reason why the subreddit is USL Pro. Come on, we can't change it.
That was a final that the Battery had beat the Hammerheads in 1-0.
Are you okay, Ryan? Are you all right?
Can I just say, last week I had my custom ink Pedro Charleston shirt on, and neither Kaylor nor Ben Clemens were there to see it. Like, what a disappointment.
I'm sorry. To be fair, I did watch it back. I had to edit it, but yeah.
Sure. Just the trusty Twitter maestro that is Ben needed to be there to see what I was cooking.
Well, we have a lot that we could have covered. New Mexico gets a big win that we didn't really talk about. Two big wins but especially in Sacramento.
Read up. Go see what Nicholas Murray had to write about that big win against Sacramento at that midweek game where New Mexico beat Sacramento in what was a massive result for the race for the 1 seed. Then they beat Loudoun again over the weekend. I bumped them number 1 in my power rankings finally because New Mexico deserves to be treated with respect.
And just 5 points out from Louisville for the Players' Shield.
Sneaky.
Can I talk about the own goal for that one?
Go for it.
Okay. The Loudoun own goal ends up being the difference, 1-0 for New Mexico. It's a 9th minute header into the own goal. When I talked to Hugo Faru earlier this year for the glove of the game, there was a couple of times where they had a weird just like headed back because like they were just not on the same page, kind of led to chaos. And he talked about it. He said that my defenders know that if there is a ball in the air, they can head it back to me because they trust me. And so it's a part of the game plan that if there's a ball in the air, to head it back to Hugo. And this just happens to be a moment where he goes to dive and it pops up in the air somehow. And just purely off training instinct, head it back to Hugo. They didn't know that he dove. And so it looks like a horrific decision, like he's trying to put it over the bar, when in all reality, they're trying to get it to him so he can restart fast and play it out quickly to get a counterattack while everybody was into the box. That was a training ground moment that just a little bit of a lack of awareness in the fact that he was on the ground. He didn't look before he headed it back. And I think it was so interesting seeing kind of what we talked about a few months ago with how it's if there's a ball in the air, head it back to me, I can do it. And then just situational awareness, did not happen for a split second leads to the only goal of the game. It's unfortunate, but it's really interesting to see how that stuff kind of plays in live time.
No, that's fascinating.
So there was another one where we had in the Super League where just real fast, I put it on Twitter. I don't know what Lexington did to the soccer gods, but they need to figure it out fast because.
Well, can I opine on that? Maybe like what they did to the soccer gods is refuse to ever pick a formation, decide that like they don't want a midfield structure, whether it's the men's side or the women's side, and just get slated every time they go out on the field. Like that's kind of it.
Correct. You are correct. But one person that, I mean, look, if you're going to talk about this Fort Lauderdale side, which we talked about what's going on off the field for them, but on the field, McCain is a superstar. Not to be outdone, she's not getting the assist numbers, but if you watch that match, the number 8, Felicia Knox, oh my God, she is a powerhouse in the midfield. She's
yeah,
awesome.
Of course. This is Bama grad going for it here, I will say.
Right.
But I mean, she's been terrific since week 1. Like the way she pulls the strings, she's played a little bit of winger in one of their matches. She's mostly been this kind of creative 6. She is critical to everything Fort Lauderdale is trying to do. And you wouldn't be having these McCain goals without the way that Knox sets the tempo. The set piece taking from her is very strong as well. Like a really wonderful player to watch.
But man, I mean, 3-1. And I mean, McCain gets a hat trick. Is this the second hat trick in the league?
Yes, we had one a week back, and I'm totally blanking on who did
Dallas?
it.
Was it Dallas? Maybe. I don't remember off the top of my
Dallas
head.
had 6 goals, so probably, and I can't come up with it. Yeah.
Seems like a good guess, yeah. Look,
Thornton
it was
for Dallas.
awesome, Matt. Who was it?
Thornton for Dallas.
Sure.
But look,
Yeah.
This one was a ton of fun to watch, man, and I come away with every single match of watching the Super League, and I don't think there's a bad team. I know we talk about, like we kind of talked about Lexington, but also Lexington has shown real flashes of attacking dominance. And there is a lot of parts to each of these clubs that you can fall in love with. And I'm just continuously impressed by the talent level. It's just been fun. But man, Fort Lauderdale, goodness gracious, they're just fun team. They're just a fun team to watch.
They've had a little bit of a struggle kind of finding that rhythm. And I think it was really the payoff against Lexington. Thinking back to what we were hearing from Eamon Zayed about that 2022 season where he was kind of married to the press right out of the gates, that feels like Lexington's problem right now, where they're just over aggressive. They're not doing enough to kind of keep a structure. You wonder when they're going to be able to tweak it, much as the Hailstorm did, to kind of find their level. Because you're dead on, Kaylor, that we've seen the flashes, whether it be Corey Sullivan on the wing, what Maddie Parsons is doing in the midfield, kind of blowing up play and advancing quickly. They've got a lot of talented players that have impressed me so far. It's just kind of making it be cohesive in a system that makes sense.
What's going to be a lot of fun is we've already had these two teams meet each other earlier in September, but on the final day of this season, December 14th, you'll have Fort Lauderdale hosting the current top of the table, Carolina Ascent as well, which could very well be for determining a number 1 seed.
Speaking of, and I know we're not getting into predictions, but if there is a matchup people should keep an eye on, Ryan kind of dropped in our private chat, so obviously you guys can't see it. DC Power only has 1 goal. I'm just going to go put into this as, out there, and I hope Benji doesn't hear this, because I think DC Power is going to give the Zephyr some fits this weekend, because I think that the way that Spokane Zephyr work is there's so many of their counterattack goals come from teams overextending and a press, and there's nobody that refuses to press less than DC Power. And I think just on the basis that DC just hates pressing, that I don't know if the Zephyr are going to be able to, how much they're going to be able to create without that counterattack fluidity that they have. It feels like one of those matches where Aquino is going to have like 8 saves, but they're all super simple. Maybe a 1-0 win for the Zephyr, maybe 0-0, maybe somehow DC gets their second goal of the season. But I feel like that one's going to be an absolute struggle bus for the Zephyr.
Well, what's fun about the matchup is that these teams just met in Spokane last weekend, where the Zephyr, like you said, they won 1-0, and it was a set piece goal. The thing about that game was, I mean, DC is a team that presses in a 4-4-2, but when they get the ball, they're going to build with 3 central defenders and 2 center mids. They had absolutely no sense of connectivity out in the wide areas. Spokane shut them down in the middle. DC just doesn't have a number 10 right now. Like, no one is connecting play. Their real hope is you're going to get a ball into the channels and Jorian Bacham is going to do something. That's not happened consistently enough for DC, clearly. I would be surprised if they didn't change up the shape, just given the fact that they've looked a little bit incoherent so far.
And if you can't tell, I'm in the middle of breaking down the Brooklyn versus Spokane stat, like the match, getting ready to do that. I just want to throw this out there for Brooklyn, which, by the way, they press like absolute maniacs. Samantha Rosette. Thank you. She's going to get a long throw-in assist this year, and it's going to be awesome. Her throw-ins are nuts.
Well, hopefully tomorrow when I am there at Rocco Commisso Stadium watching them get their home debut.
Hey,
that's going to be a lot of fun.
It's going to be a lot of fun. Hope you enjoy it. Now it's not in Brooklyn. It's in
Columbia. Yeah, Brooklyn. Up on 210th Street, I want to say, which is very north.
So how long is your train ride?
Well, so I'm on 14th. They're up on 210th. It should be about 50 minutes, but that's like less than 2/3 of, no, it's about 2/3 of the amount of time it would have taken me to get up to Brooklyn. So it's an improvement.
Okay. I mean, I don't know if I want to spend, 50 minutes on the New York train, but
that's it is what it is.
The things you do for love.
That's right.
Well, listen, this was a long ep. Lots of fun conversations. You missed Ben Clemens in chat, missed Mark Hank talk and a Pedro shirt. So that's what Ben missed.
Check in.
Yeah. And also earlier today, Ben and Tommy from Oakland had admin beef, obviously. That's what I want to put out there. They keep saying that it's not real. I think that they hate each other. That's all. Love you, Tommy. Love you, Ben. Final thoughts for the night. Do we have any final USL thoughts? Ryan, John?
Nah.
All right. Well, how about some final thoughts for the night? Why not, Mr. Ryan Allen?
Yeah. So recommend The Penguin on HBO. It's really hitting the spot that it's reminiscent of Sopranos, but it's all kind of set in the Gotham, the Batman universe. Colin Farrell's excellent. Christian Milioti's very good in her role as well. So yeah, I certainly recommend checking out The Penguin.
Awesome. John?
Yeah, Ryan and I chatted a little bit, both enjoying The Penguin, so double the recommendation there. I don't know. Oh, okay. I saw a new movie called The Substance last week, it's Demi Moore, it's Margaret Qualley. Probably the grossest thing I've ever seen in a theater. Like, just horrendous things happening to the human body in that thing. Highly recommend if you're into that, but like, not for the faint of heart.
What do you mean if you're what's the audience for this? Is it a horror? Is it what is it?
It's sort of horror, but it's very like kind of glossy and neon coated. It's about like an aging movie star who starts to take the substance to look younger. And the physical transformation from there is just wild stuff.
All right. I'm going to stop there while I still have an appetite to eat later. All right. For me, let's see. I had something. Oh, we have a lot of people who listen to this who are kind of in the path of the hurricane coming through. Obviously, Ryan, you are going to be hit with some rains and winds, and wishing nothing but the best for you. But especially our friends down in Tampa Bay and our friends in South Georgia down in Statesboro, they're going to be getting hit pretty rough with that. So if you can find any way to donate to good causes to try to, get those people the supplies that they need, please do it. If you're someone in the Statesboro area, or in Tampa Bay area, please let us know how we can help. Like DM the USL Show or DM me personally at Kaylor Hodges, and let's try to figure it out so we can, help each other as much as we can. Stay safe down there, people. Stay super safe. That is, I believe, it for the night. Again, consider checking out the Patreon. Check out goals.tv, which this will be going up on later. And for the first and the final time of night, here's Alan's voice.
Thank you for watching another episode of the USL Show. The USL Show is now proudly part of the Protagonist podcast family. Please go to protagonistsoccer.com to check out more work. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see everyone again next time.